The morning sun rose over the green fields of Kepler 442b, painting the sky in soft orange and pink colors. Jae-ho Kim stood on his porch, drinking hot coffee, and watching his daughter So-min walk to school with her friends. The colony felt peaceful, like any small town back on Earth. 20 years of hard work had turned this empty planet into a real home. Nari Kim came outside and stood next to her husband. She smiled as she watched their daughter laugh with her friends. "Hard to believe we've been here so long," she said. "So-min was just a baby when we first landed." Jae-ho nodded. "Best decision we ever made. Coming here, I mean." He looked at the neat rows of houses, the school building, and the farms that stretched to the horizon. The kids here will have a better life than we ever could have given them on Earth. Governor Hyunwoo Park felt the same way as he walked through the town center that morning. People waved and called out greetings. Mrs. Song was opening her bakery. Mr. Han was fixing a water pipe. Everything felt normal and safe, but normal ended at exactly 10:47 in the morning. The first sign was the shadow that fell across the entire colony. People looked up and saw something impossible. Huge ships filled the sky, blocking out the sun. The ships were dark and ugly, with sharp edges and glowing red lights. There were dozens of them, each one bigger than the colony's largest building. Tae-sung Lim, the security chief, was the first to react. He ran to the emergency communication center and activated the colony-wide alert system. Warning sirens began to wail across the settlement. "All citizens report to emergency shelters immediately." His voice echoed through speakers on every street. "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Governor Park rushed to the command center, his heart pounding. He had seen alien ships before during his time as a diplomat, but never like these. These ships looked like weapons, built only for war and destruction. The largest ship in the alien fleet opened a communication channel. A harsh mechanical voice filled the command center. "Humans of this world, I am Commander Veltar of the Vorthak Empire. Your planet contains resources we require. You have 72 hours to evacuate all mining sites and surrender control of your world. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." The transmission ended, leaving only silence in the command center. Jae-ho burst through the doors, his face pale with worry. "Hyunwoo, what's happening? Where's my family?" "The emergency shelters," Park replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Tae-sung's people are getting everyone to safety." More colonists arrived at the command center. These were the team leaders, the people who helped run the colony. They all looked scared but determined. "What do they want?" asked Dr. Min-ho Lee, the colony's doctor. "Our mining sites," Park answered. "And our planet." Woo Jin-han, who ran the mining operations, shook his head. "We've got rare earth elements here, sure, but nothing worth starting a war over." "It's worth it to them," Park said grimly. In the underground shelter, Nari held So-min close as they sat with hundreds of other colonists. The shelter had been built for storms and emergencies, but nobody had planned for an alien invasion. Children were crying. Adults whispered to each other in worried voices. So-min looked up at her mother. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" Nari forced a smile. "Your father and Governor Park will figure something out. They always do." But in the command center above, Park was discovering just how few options they had. The colony had no military ships, no weapons that could threaten the alien fleet. They were farmers, scientists, and engineers, not soldiers. "We need to send distress signals," Tae-sung said. "Every communication channel we have." Park nodded. "Do it. Send messages to the Galactic Cooperative Council, to Earth, to anyone who might listen." For the next several hours, they sent desperate messages across the galaxy. Park recorded message after message, explaining their situation and begging for help. They sent the transmissions to government offices, military bases, and trading posts throughout known space. The responses that came back were not encouraging. The Galactic Cooperative Council expressed sympathy, but said their nearest fleet was months away. Other colonies sent messages of support, but had no ships to spare. Most worlds simply didn't respond at all. Earth's response was the most disappointing. A polite message from some low-level official expressed regret, but explained that Earth's defense forces were too small and too far away to help. By evening, the alien ships had moved into position around the planet. Smaller vessels began scanning the surface, mapping the mining sites and population centers. It was clear they were preparing for invasion. Park called another meeting with the colony leaders. They gathered in the command center, their faces grim, in the blue light of the computer screens. "Nobody's coming," he said simply. "We're on our own." "What about evacuation?" asked Dr. Lee. "Could we get people off planet?" Taesung shook his head. "We've got 2 cargo ships. They might hold 300 people total. We've got over 5,000 colonists here." "We fight," said Wu Jin suddenly. Everyone turned to look at the big mining foreman. "I know it sounds crazy, but we fight. We've got mining explosives, heavy equipment, and people who know this planet better than they do." "Wu Jin, they've got warships," Jae-ho pointed out. "Then we make it cost them," Wu Jin replied. "Maybe we can't win, but we can make them remember us." Park looked around the room at these ordinary people talking about standing up to an alien war fleet. It should have been ridiculous. Instead, it filled him with pride. "All right," he said. "We prepare for the worst. Taesung, organize the defense, use whatever we have. Jae-ho, see if you can boost our shield generators. Everyone else, help get the civilians to the deepest shelters." As the meeting broke up, Park stayed behind to record one final message. This one wasn't a plea for help. It was a record, a way to make sure someone would remember what happened. "Here. This is Governor Hyunwoo Park of the Kepler 442b colony," he said into the communication device. "In approximately 60 hours, our world will likely be destroyed by the Vorthak Empire. We have 5,000 men, women, and children here who came to this planet to build a better life. They deserve better than this. If anyone receives this message, please remember us. Please remember that we tried to do the right thing." He sent the message out into space and then went to find his own family. If these were to be their last days, he wanted to spend them with the people he loved. Outside, the alien ships hung in the sky like dark clouds blotting out the stars. Deep beneath the mountains of South Korea, Admiral Dong-hyun Lee sat in the Earth Defense Command Center, reading the distress signal from Kepler 442b for the 3rd time. The message had come through normal diplomatic channels, marked as low priority. Most people would have filed it away and forgotten about it. But Lee remembered Governor Park from the old days, when Park had served as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. Park was a good man who had always tried to help Earth find its place among the stars. Now Park needed help, and Earth's official response had been a polite refusal. Lee stood up from his desk and walked to the massive windows that looked out over the hidden military complex. Below him, hundreds of technicians worked on ships that the galaxy had never seen. Earth had been busy for the past 30 years, and they had been very quiet about it. Captain Sujin-oh was running final tests on her ship when the Admiral's message came through. The Incheon's Pride was Earth's most advanced vessel, a stealth dreadnought that could disappear from sensors and strike without warning. Oh had commanded the ship for 3 years, but this would be its first real combat mission. "Captain O, report to Admiral Lee immediately," came the voice over the communication system. O handed control of the bridge to her second-in-command and made her way through the ship's corridors. The Incheon's Pride was beautiful inside, with clean white walls and blue lighting. Everything worked perfectly, from the quantum drives to the adaptive armor systems. She found Lee in his office, along with several other ship captains. O recognized most of them from training exercises, but they had never all been called together like this before. "Ladies and gentlemen," Lee began, "we have a situation. A human colony is under attack by the Vorthak Empire. They have requested help, and we are going to provide it." Captain Jin-woo Park of the destroyer Soul's Hammer raised his hand. "Sir, the colony is in Vorthak space. That's a long way from Earth." 4 weeks at maximum speed, Lee confirmed. "But we have something the Vorthak don't know about. Our new quantum displacement drives can cut that time to 3 days. O felt her heart rate increase. The quantum drives were still experimental. They had only been tested on short jumps within the solar system. "Sir," she said, "are we sure the drives can handle a jump that far?" Lee smiled grimly. Captain O, your ship has the most advanced drives we've ever built. If anyone can make the jump, it's the Incheon's pride. General Mi-kyung-bae entered the room wearing the black uniform of the Earth Marine Corps. She was a small woman, but O had seen her in training. Bae could break a man's arm without breaking a sweat. Admiral, Bae said, my Marines are ready. For deployment. We've got 5,000 troops equipped with the new power armor. They're itching for a real fight. Lee nodded. Good. Because we're not just going to drive off the Vorthak fleet. We're going to send a message to the entire galaxy. Young Min Choi, O's tactical officer, had been quiet during the briefing. Now he spoke up. Sir, what kind of message? That Earth protects its people, Lee replied. All of its people, no matter where they are. Over the next 6 hours, Earth's hidden fleet prepared for departure. The ships had been built in secret over decades, using technology that Earth had developed without telling the rest of the galaxy. While other worlds saw Earth as a backward planet with primitive technology, Earth scientists had been working on quantum physics, artificial intelligence, and weapon systems that were years ahead of anything in known space. O walked through her ship, checking on her crew. In the weapons bay, Haewon Song was calibrating the plasma torpedo systems. Song was the best weapons specialist in the fleet, and she treated every weapon like a work of art. How are we looking, Haewon? O asked. Song grinned. Captain, these new torpedoes could punch through a battlecruiser's shields like they were made of paper. The Vorthak won't know what hit them. In the engine room, the quantum drive hummed with contained energy. The chief engineer, a young man named Kai-Tai Lim, was running final diagnostics. Drive systems are green across the board, Captain, he reported. We're ready for long-range displacement. O made her way to the bridge where Choi was studying star charts and plotting their route to Kepler 442b. The route would take them through empty space, avoiding the major trade routes where other ships might see them. Tactical analysis? O asked. The Vorthak typically deploy in standard formation, Choi explained. Heavy battleships in the center, cruisers on the flanks, fighters providing screen coverage. They rely on overwhelming firepower rather than clever tactics. And our advantages? Speed, stealth, and weapons they've never seen before. Plus, they won't be expecting us. As far as the galaxy knows, Earth barely has a space force. The fleet assembled in the hidden base's launch bay. 50 ships in total, from massive dreadnoughts to quick destroyers to carrier ships filled with Marines. It was the largest military force Earth had ever sent into space, and nobody outside of Earth knew it existed. Admiral Lee's voice came over the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Lee. Today we make our first real appearance on the galactic stage. We're not going out there to conquer or to show off. We're going to save lives and protect innocent people. That's what Earth does, that's who we are. The massive doors of the underground base opened, revealing the star-filled sky above. One by one, the ships rose from their hidden berths and disappeared into space. O felt the familiar sensation of the quantum drive engaging. Reality seemed to bend around the ship as they slipped into quantum displacement. Through the viewports, the stars became streaks of light, then disappeared entirely as they entered quantum space. 3 days to target, Choi reported. Good, O replied. Use the time to run battle simulations. I want everyone ready when we arrive. In his quarters, Admiral Lee looked at a photo of Governor Park from their diplomatic days. Park had always believed that Earth could be a force for good in the galaxy. Now they would have a chance to prove him right. The fleet moved through quantum space like ghosts, invisible to the sensors of every other ship in the galaxy. They carried with them the hopes of 5,000 colonists and the promise that Earth would never abandon its people. Back on Earth, in the command center, the remaining staff monitored the fleet's progress. This was the moment Earth had been preparing for, the moment when they would step out of the shadows and show the galaxy what they could do. Colonel Jun-Ho Ryu, commander of the fighter squadrons, was checking his equipment one final time. His fighters were small but fast, equipped with weapons that could disable larger ships without destroying them. Earth preferred to capture rather than kill, when possible. All fighters ready for deployment, he reported to Admiral Lee. Excellent. Remember everyone, we're not just fighting for the colony. We're fighting for Earth's future in the galaxy. Let's make sure it's a future we can be proud of. The quantum displacement continued, carrying Earth's fleet toward their date with destiny. In 3 days, the galaxy would learn that Earth was no longer the helpless world they thought it was. The attack began exactly 72 hours after the Vorthak ultimatum, just as Commander Veltar had promised. The alien warships opened fire on the colony's outer defenses, sending bright beams of energy down from the sky. The ground shook as the defensive shields flickered and sparked under the assault. In the underground command center, Tai Sung Lim watched the tactical displays with growing concern. The colony's shields were holding for now, but they wouldn't last long against this kind of firepower. Shield generators at 60% and falling, reported one of his technicians. How long do we have? Governor Park asked. Maybe 6 hours, Taesung replied grimly. After that, they can start landing troops. Jae-ho Kim was working frantically in the power station, trying to redirect energy to the shield generators. He had been an engineer for 20 years, but he had never dealt with anything like this. The power systems were designed for a peaceful colony, not a war zone. I can give you maybe an extra hour, he called out over the communication system, but I'll have to shut down life support in sections B and C. Do it, Park ordered. Everyone in those sections has already been moved to the deeper shelters. Above ground, the Vorthak ships continued their bombardment. The alien commander had decided to soften up the colony's defenses before sending in ground troops. It was a standard tactic that had worked on dozens of worlds before. In the main shelter, Nari Kim was helping Dr. Min-Ho Lee treat people who had been injured in the initial attack. Most of the wounds were minor, caused by falling debris when the first energy beams hit the outer buildings. So-min Kim sat with a group of other teenagers trying to keep the younger children calm. But she kept thinking about the communication equipment she had seen in the command center. Her computer classes at school had covered basic programming and system analysis. Maybe she could help somehow. Mom, she said to Nari during a quiet moment, I want to go to the command center. Absolutely not, Nari replied immediately. It's too dangerous up there. But I might be able to help. I know computers and maybe I can figure out their communication systems. Nari looked at her 16-year-old daughter and saw the determined expression that reminded her so much of Jae-ho. So-min, you're just a kid. I'm the same age you were when you started college, So-min pointed out. And I'm good with computers, really good. Before Nari could argue further, another explosion shook the shelter. The lights flickered and several people cried out in fear. In the command center, Taesung was organizing the colony's defenses. They had mining equipment that could be turned into weapons, construction vehicles that could serve as armor, and explosives that were normally used for excavation. Woo Jin Han had taken charge of the improvised military units. He was a big man, who had worked in dangerous mines for most of his life. He wasn't afraid of a fight. We've got 300 people who can handle weapons, he reported to Taesung. Mostly mining equipment and hunting rifles. Not much against alien battle armor, but better than nothing. What about the heavy equipment? We can turn the excavators into mobile bunkers. Mount some of the mining lasers on them. Won't stop a warship, but might slow down their ground forces. Taesung nodded. He had been a soldier on Earth before coming to the colony, but that was 15 years ago. He had hoped never to fight another war. The shield generators finally failed at hour 7. Almost an hour longer than expected thanks to Jae-ho's modifications. The energy barriers that had protected the colony flickered once and disappeared. Shields down, the technician reported unnecessarily. Everyone could see the difference on the tactical displays. Within minutes, the first Vorthak landing ships descended from the main fleet. They were dark, angular craft that looked like metal insects. Each one carried 50 Vorthak soldiers in battle armor. Governor Park made the decision he had been dreading. All civilian shelters, go to lockdown. Seal the blast doors and don't open them for anyone except me or Taesung. The blast doors were massive steel barriers designed to protect the shelters from cave-ins or toxic gas leaks. Once sealed, they could only be opened from the inside or with the governor's personal access codes. The first Vorthak troops landed near the mining complex on the north side of the colony. They moved in organized formations, their weapons ready. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin and multiple arms. Their battle armor was black and covered with sensors and weapons. Wu Jin's improvised fighters met them with everything they had. Mining lasers cut through the air and explosives detonated around the landing zones. But the Vorthak armor was tough, and their weapons were more advanced than anything the colonists had. "We need to fall back to the secondary positions," Wu Jin called over the radio. "These guys are too well equipped." In the command center, So-Min Kim had finally convinced the adults to let her try to access the Vorthak communication systems. She sat at a computer terminal, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she tried to break through their encryption. "I'm getting something," she said excitedly. "Their communication system isn't that different from ours, just more complex." "Can you understand what they're saying?" Park asked. "I'm working on it. Give me a few more minutes." The battle raged above ground as more Vorthak troops landed. They were methodically taking control of the colony's infrastructure, moving from building to building and sweeping for resistance. Jae-ho had joined Wu Jin's fighters, using his engineering knowledge to set traps and sabotage alien equipment. He had rigged several buildings with explosives, turning them into deadly surprises for the invading forces. "Building 7 is wired," he reported over the radio. "When they try to set up their command post there, they're in for a surprise." The explosion that followed shook the entire colony. 3 Vorthak squads had been in the building when Jae-ho's charges went off. It was the first major success for the defenders, but the victory was short-lived. More landing ships kept arriving, and the Vorthak forces were overwhelming the colonists. Through sheer numbers. "I've got their communications," So-Min suddenly announced. "I can hear what they're saying." She quickly translated the alien speech patterns, her face growing pale as she understood their true intentions. "Governor Park," she said, her voice shaking. "They're not just here for the mining sites. They're planning to strip mine the entire planet. They're going to take everything and leave the world dead." The command center fell silent except for the sound of distant explosions. Everyone had hoped that surrender might still be an option, that they could negotiate some kind of compromise. Now they knew the truth. "They were never going to let us leave," Park said quietly. "This was always going to be a massacre." Tae-sung checked his weapon and headed for the exit. "Then we make them pay for every inch." As the battle continued into the night, the colonists fought with the desperation of people who knew they had nothing left to lose. They couldn't win, but they could make the Vorthak remember this world. In the shelter, Nari held the other civilians as they listened to the sounds of war above. She thought about Jae-ho and So-Min, both risking their lives to defend their home. She thought about the life they had built here, and how it was all being destroyed by aliens who saw them as nothing more than obstacles to be removed. But she also thought about the message Governor Park had sent into space. Somewhere out there, maybe someone had heard their plea. Maybe someone was coming to help. She held on to that hope as the explosions continued overhead. The Vorthak had been fighting for 18 hours when their sensors detected something impossible. Commander Veltar stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the tactical display with confusion and growing anger. "Report," he ordered his tactical officer. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures approaching the system. Multiple ships, but their technology doesn't match any known galactic cooperative designs." "How many ships?" "We count over 200 vessels, sir. They're maintaining formation, but staying just outside our sensor range." Veltar's forearms moved restlessly. In 30 years of conquest, he had never encountered an unknown fleet this large. "Are they galactic cooperative reinforcements?" "No, sir. The energy signatures are completely unfamiliar. These ships use technology we've never seen before. On Ife, the planet's surface, the colonists were losing ground steadily. Wu Jin's fighters had been pushed back to the inner defensive ring around the main settlement. Jae-ho's traps had slowed the Vorthak advance, but there were simply too many enemy soldiers. In the command center, So-Min Kim was still monitoring Vorthak communications when she detected something new. "Governor Park," she called out excitedly. "Something's happening. The Vorthak are talking about unknown ships approaching the system." Park looked up from the tactical displays. Unknown ships? They sound confused and worried. They keep saying the ships don't match any known technology. Before Park could respond, Tae-sung's voice came over the radio from the front lines. Command, you need to see this. Look up. Everyone in the command center ran to the observation windows. In the sky above the colony, they could see new lights moving among the Vorthak ships. These lights were different, brighter and moving in patterns that seemed almost impossible. The unknown fleet had arrived at the edge of the system and was now moving in perfect formation toward the Vorthak positions. The ships were sleek and silver, with lines that seemed to flow like water. They moved with a grace that made the Vorthak vessels look clumsy and crude. Admiral Dong-hyun Lee stood on the bridge of Seoul's Vengeance, watching the Vorthak fleet through his ship's advanced sensors. After 3 days in quantum space, Earth's fleet had arrived exactly where they needed to be. All ships report ready for combat, came the voice of Captain Soo-jin-oh from the Incheon's Pride. Tactical analysis, Lee ordered. Vorthak fleet consists of 1 command battleship, 12 heavy cruisers, and 46 support vessels, reported his tactical officer. Standard Vorthak formation. They have ground forces deployed on the planet's surface. And our advantages? Complete. Technological superiority, sir. They have no idea what we're capable of. Lee opened a communication channel to the entire Earth fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Lee. Remember, we're here to save lives, not to start a galactic war. Disable their ships when possible. Destroy them only when necessary. But make no mistake, we will not allow them to harm those colonists. The Vorthak commander was the first to make contact. Veltar's harsh voice filled the communication channels. Unknown vessels, you are interfering with a legitimate Vorthak military operation. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Admiral Lee's response was calm and measured. This is Admiral Dong-hyun Lee of the Earth Defense Forces. You are attacking innocent civilians. Leave this system now, and no harm will come to you. Earth? Veltar's voice carried disbelief. Earth has no military fleet. You are a primitive world with no advanced technology. You're about to learn otherwise, Lee replied. This is your final warning. When the Vorthak fleet opened fire, their energy beams passed harmlessly through empty space. The Earth ships had activated their advanced stealth systems, becoming invisible to Vorthak sensors. Captain O watched the enemy fire from the bridge of Incheon's Pride. They can't see us, she reported to her crew. Just like in the simulations. Target their command ship, ordered young Min Choi from the tactical station. Precision strike on their bridge. Firing quantum torpedoes, announced Hai Wan-song, the Mabin. Weapons that emerged from Incheon's Pride were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. They moved faster than light itself, appearing as streaks of blue energy that seemed to bend space around them. Commander Veltar saw the impossible weapons streak toward his ship. Evasive maneuvers, he ordered, but it was too late. The quantum torpedoes struck the Vorthak command ship with surgical precision. They didn't destroy the vessel, but they disabled its weapons, engines, and shields in a matter of seconds. The mighty Vorthak battleship was suddenly helpless, drifting in space. Impossible, Veltar whispered as he stared at his dead control panels. The rest of the Earth fleet revealed themselves all at once, dropping their stealth fields and appearing around the Vorthak ships like ghosts becoming solid. The aliens found themselves surrounded by vessels that moved with impossible grace and fired weapons they couldn't understand. Captain Jin-woo Park's destroyer Seoul's Hammer targeted a group of Vorthak cruisers. His ship's adaptive armor changed, color and texture as enemy fire struck it, absorbing the energy and redirecting it back at the attackers. Their weapons are actually making us stronger, Park reported to the fleet. The adaptive armor is working perfectly. On the planet's surface, the Vorthak ground forces stopped their advance as reports came in from orbit. Their fleet was being destroyed by an enemy they couldn't even see properly. Jae-ho Kim was monitoring the alien communications when he heard the panic in their voices. They're talking about retreating, he told Woo Jin over the radio. They're scared. Good, Woo Jin replied grimly. Let them run. But the Earth fleet wasn't finished demonstrating their capabilities. Colonel Junho Ryu launched his fighter squadrons from the carrier ships. The fighters were small and fast, moving in patterns that seemed to defy physics. "Fighter squadrons away," Ryu reported, engaging enemy support vessels. The Earth fighters moved through the Vorthak fleet like schools of fish, striking with precision and disappearing before the enemy could respond. Within minutes, half of all the Vorthak support ships had been disabled. Admiral Lee opened another communication channel to the Vorthak commander. "Commander Veltar, your fleet is defeated. Surrender now and we will allow you to withdraw." "Who are you?" Veltar's voice was filled with confusion and fear. "Earth is supposed to be a backward world. How do you have ships like these?" "Earth has been busy," Lee replied simply. "We prefer to build rather than destroy, to protect rather than conquer. But we will fight when we must." In the colony command center, Governor Park stared at the tactical displays in amazement. The unknown fleet, Earth's fleet, he realized, was systematically dismantling the Vorthak forces without destroying them completely. "They're trying to minimize casualties," he said in wonder, "even enemy casualties." So Min Kim was translating the increasingly frantic Vorthak communications. "They're calling for reinforcements, but their nearest fleet is weeks away. Some of their ships are trying to run." "Let them go," came Admiral Lee's voice over the colony's communication system. "Governor Park, this is Admiral Lee. Sorry we're late. Are your people safe?" Park felt tears in his eyes as he responded. "Admiral, you have no idea how good it is to hear from you. Most of our people are in shelters, but we have Vorthak ground forces throughout the colony. We'll take care of that," Lee assured him. "General Bay is preparing a ground assault. We'll have your people free within the hour." The tide of battle had turned completely. The mighty Vorthak fleet that had seemed so invincible was now broken and scattered. Earth had arrived, and they had brought weapons and technology that the galaxy had never imagined. For the first time in days, the colonists began to hope that they might actually survive. General Mikyung Bay stood in the launch bay of the assault carrier Busan's Thunder, watching her Marines prepare for deployment. 5,000 Earth soldiers in powered armor were ready to drop onto the planet's surface. Each soldier was equipped with weapons and armor that made them nearly invincible against conventional forces. "Listen up," Bay addressed her troops over the communication system. "We have civilians down there who have been fighting for their lives for almost a day. They've held out this long because they're brave and determined. Our job is to finish what they started." The drop pods were cylindrical metal containers, each one designed to carry a single Marine safely through atmospheric entry. The pods could survive direct hits from enemy weapons and land with pinpoint accuracy. "Drop pods away," announced the carrier's captain. From orbit, it looked like a meteor shower as thousands of pods streaked down through the atmosphere. But these meteors had minds of their own, adjusting their course to avoid the colony's buildings and land in strategic positions throughout the settlement. In the command center, So Min Kim watched the drop pods land through the observation windows. "They're everywhere," she reported excitedly. "The Earth soldiers are landing all around the Vorthak positions." The first pod landed in the central plaza, and a figure in gleaming white armor stepped out. The powered armor was beautiful, with smooth lines and energy shields that glowed softly blue. The Marine carried a weapon that hummed with contained power. Sergeant Hyejin Ko was leading the first squad into the colony. Her armor's sensors immediately identified civilian and enemy positions throughout the area. She could see through walls, track movement, and coordinate with her squad without speaking aloud. "Vorthak squad in Building 12. She reported to her team through mental link. 6 hostiles, no civilians present. The Earth Marines moved with impossible speed and coordination. Their armor made them stronger and faster than any normal human, and their weapons could disable enemies without killing them when possible." Jae-ho Kim was hiding behind an overturned mining vehicle when he saw the first Earth Marine appear. The soldier moved like a dancer, flowing around obstacles and enemies with perfect grace. Vorthak weapons fire bounced harmlessly off the Marine's shields. "Civilian identified," came a voice from the Marine's external speakers. "Sir, please remain in cover. We'll have this area secure in approximately 3 minutes." Jae-ho watched in amazement as a single Earth soldier took on an entire Vorthak squad. The Marine's weapon fired pulses of blue energy that simply shut down the aliens' armor and weapons. Within moments, 6 Vorthak soldiers were unconscious on the ground. "Area secure," the Marine announced. "Medic en route for wounded hostiles." Throughout the colony, similar scenes were playing out. Earth's Marines were not just defeating the Vorthak forces, they were doing it with a precision and care that left most aliens alive and unharmed. In the main shelter, the blast doors finally opened, and General Bay herself walked in. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the room. The colonists stared at her advanced armor and weapons with wonder and relief. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "you're safe now. Earth has come to take you home." Nari Kim rushed forward and hugged the general, not caring about the powered armor. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." Captain Sujin Oh had received special permission to bring the Inchin's pride into the planet's atmosphere. The massive dreadnought descended through the clouds like a silver whale, its presence both beautiful and terrifying. "Captain," young Min Choi called from the tactical station, "we have multiple Vorthak positions requesting close air support from our ground forces." "Show them what Earth engineering can do," Oh replied. The Inchin's pride fired precision strikes that destroyed Vorthak equipment while leaving the surrounding buildings untouched. The ship's weapons were so advanced that they could target individual soldiers without harming anyone standing next to them. Wu Jin Han was leading a group of colonist fighters when they encountered their first Earth Marine. The soldier was surrounded by unconscious Vorthak troops, and his armor didn't have a single scratch on it. "Are you hurt?" the Marine asked. His voice transmitted clearly through his armor's speakers. "We're fine," Wu Jin replied, still staring at the advanced equipment. "How did you do that? There were 20 of them." "Training and technology," the Marine replied simply. "Plus, we really don't like bullies." So Min Kim had convinced the adults to let her help coordinate with the Earth forces. Her computer skills proved useful in connecting the colony's communication systems with the Marines' advanced networks. "I'm getting reports from all over the colony," she told Governor Park. "The Earth forces are everywhere. They're not just winning, they're making it look easy." The Vorthak ground commander tried to organize a final defense around their landing ships, but it was hopeless. Earth's forces surrounded them with overwhelming numbers and superior technology. "Surrender now and you will be treated fairly," came the message from General Bay. "Continue fighting and you will be defeated anyway, but with more casualties on both sides." The Vorthak commander looked at his remaining troops and made the smart choice. "All units, cease fire. We surrender." Within 6 hours of the Earth fleet's arrival, the battle was over. The Vorthak ground forces had surrendered, their fleet was disabled in orbit, and the colonists were safe. Governor Park stood in the main plaza, surrounded by Earth Marines and grateful colonists. The soldiers were helping with medical care and repairs, treating everyone with respect and professionalism. Admiral Lee's ship landed near the colony center, and the Admiral himself came down to meet with Park. He was an older man with kind eyes and a firm handshake. "Governor Park," Lee said, "I apologize for cutting it so close. We came as fast as we could." "Admiral, you saved 5,000 lives today," Park replied. "How can we ever thank you?" "By continuing to be the good people you've always been," Lee answered. "The galaxy needs more places like this colony, more people like your settlers." Jae-ho and Nari Kim found each other in the crowd, embracing while Somin hugged both her parents. Around them, Earth soldiers were helping to repair damaged buildings and treat injured civilians. "Mom, Dad," Somin said. "I helped coordinate the defense. I hacked into their communication systems and assisted the Earth forces with tactical data." Nari looked at her daughter with pride and concern. "You were very brave, Somin, and very foolish." "She was also very effective," said a voice behind them. They turned to see Captain O approaching, her helmet under her arm. "Your daughter's intelligence work helped us target Vorthak positions without risking civilian casualties." The captain looked young for someone commanding such an advanced ship. "I wanted to thank her personally." As night fell over the colony, the Earth fleet maintained orbit while repairs continued on the surface. The Vorthak prisoners were being held in comfortable conditions aboard the Earth ships, and their wounded were receiving medical treatment. Commander Veltar sat in a detention cell aboard Soul's Vengeance, staring at the walls in confusion. He had expected execution or torture, but instead he had been given medical care, food, and respectful treatment. "I don't understand," he told Admiral Lee when the human commander came to visit him. "We attacked your people. Why are you treating us so well?" "Because that's who we are," Lee replied simply. "We fight when we must, but we don't take pleasure in causing suffering." "Your technology," Veltar said. "It's beyond anything we've seen. How long has Earth been developing such weapons?" "Long enough," Lee answered. "We prefer to build rather than destroy, to explore rather than conquer. But we will defend our people no matter where they are." As the sun rose over Kepler 442b the next morning, the colony looked much the same as it had before the attack. Earth's engineering teams had worked through the night to repair the damage, and life was slowly returning to normal. But everything had changed. The galaxy now knew that Earth was not the helpless world they had thought. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage as protectors, not conquerors, and in the depths of space, other worlds that had suffered under alien oppression began to send their own messages to Earth, hoping that help might come for them as well.